Well, hello and thank you for joining me for another Alex on Tech and iTWireTV interview. I'm joined today by Patrick Pulvermueller. He is the new CEO of Acronis. Welcome to the program.
Alex, welcome, and thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Well, congratulations on the new role as well. Now, with many saying that we're in the midst of a new sort of cold cyber war, this is a pivotal, exciting, and a frightening time to be heading up one of the world's top cybersecurity and cyber protection companies. So, how do you feel following in Serguei Belousov's footsteps and taking on this awesome responsibility?
So, frankly, taking on Sergei's footsteps is really an honor to me because it's really something we have always been aspiring for, to really work in cybersecurity, to build something great which really helps us to protect service providers, companies all around the world. I'm honored and excited. I think these are the two words which describe it best.
Yes, well, look, let's get to the meat of it all. Cybercrime is growing off the charts. Every day seems to herald a new hack, a new supply chain attack, a new vulnerability, print nightmare, another ransomware, Revil, takedown of a major infrastructure project like in the US with the both the meat factories and the oil pipelines. So, we also have ever more aggressive nation state actions. So, what are your views on these various disparate and yet incredibly intertwined situations?
So I think the situation is a very complex one. And obviously, with every good, there comes some bad, some hostile. And in this case, obviously, the internet and the connectivity between all of us creates something awesome, something unique, which is really going to help everyone around the globe to have access to knowledge, have access to productivity, and to all the tools which make things more and more exciting. But on the other hand, it does provide some hostile elements to it, and we just need to protect against them. It's like living in your house. I mean, you have your house, everything is nice, but you just don't leave the door open because you just hope for no one to enter the house. And this is how I think about cybersecurity and how I think about this going forward. You just need to protect yourself to benefit from all the good out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, that leads sort of to the next question. How does Acronis protect its home customers, business customers, enterprise government, and MSP customers from all of this? Everyone knows it's a cat and mouse game, but how does Acronis stay ahead of the pack?
So we are staying ahead of the pack by continuously investing in R&D. So this is really the one thing where we invest in, and this is where I'm really honored to have Sergei as Chief Research Officer to not only help me on the short and midterm, but also on the long term. Second, I think the key part and the key theme internally is that we really want to prepare for the worst case. So we protect you with the best effort in all the different elements, starting from the detection of attack up to the forensics at the end. We want to find out what actually happened and why did it happen. And to be on the safe side, we always have some copy of the data so that we can always roll back and just make it work again. But it's not only about securing, frankly, it's also about the resilience piece, where you need to make sure that if something happens, that you're going back online as fast as possible, that you bring it back as soon as reasonably possible. So it's security and resilience. That's how we protect the service providers, their customers, and all the workloads around the world.
Yeah, well, I know that, for example, with last year's Cyber Protect and also the True Image, Acronis introduced internet security, antivirus, anti-malware, anti-ransomware. I mean, you already had anti-ransomware before, but you, of course, made that even more important given how many ransomware attacks are happening. And you protected the Zoom and Teams video conferences, which have powered the world's ability to stay connected over the past 18 months. So there are clearly, you've done a lot in that regard, and there's much more to do.
And there are dozens and dozens more workloads which we protect, from email to databases to others. So I think in total right now we protect more than what we call workloads, so different applications, services, devices, more than 40 around the world for all the different needs. So this is really the key of what we do, protect all different angles of your internal IT and of the IT which is connected to the internet, to the cyberspace.
Yeah. Now, Acronis founder and former CEO Sergei is, as you mentioned before, moving to the Chief Research Officer role. And of course, he still remains on the board and Acronis' larger shareholder. So what kind of things will he be working on? I mean, you mentioned briefly a little bit about that, but presumably he'll also be one of your mentors, along with people like Stas Protasov and Rene Bonvani and others.
Yeah, so Sergey will clearly focus on the research part, so the long-term growth potential for Acronis. So we have a strong foundation right now, but we don't want to just rely on this one. We really want to grow continuously. And for this, we need to develop more AI-related, machine learning or data-related tools and services, which will really help us to grow the business further and protect our customers' workloads even better. So this is really the first priority. The second priority he will focus on is really helping our products to not only work with our SMB customers, but also to be able to scale the products more into the enterprise. Our core focus is and will be the small and medium-sized businesses around the world, the small and medium-sized service providers around the world, but they also happen to serve larger customers. And we want to be there for them to be able to serve these customers as well. That's the second pillar. And third, the world is not one. There are different applications in different parts of the region around the world. We want to be also able to protect them. We are especially thinking about markets like the Asian Pacific market, but also Africa, where other applications, other workloads are being used, and we want to protect every workload around the globe. So focusing on these three pillars is what Sergei will actually work on. Stas is and will be my president for technology. I'm really honored to have him on board to help me to grow the business further. And Rene is a great mentor and chairman of the board, which will help me a lot in not only getting on board successfully, but also growing the business successfully from a go-to-market strategy.
Now, Australia is in the midst of a new COVID lockdown. In fact, it's been extended today as we speak. And vaccination rates are taking their time. There's not enough Pfizer, although we've got more stocks of that arriving. And Singapore's even talking about learning to live with the virus. But what lessons did Acronis learn during the COVID pandemic? What kinds of digital acceleration did you and your customers see? And what is an update on the Acronis CyberFit program?
So from a COVID perspective, I think the one lesson which I've been talking to Sergei over the last year and a half has always been prepare for the worst, so prepare for continuous change, prepare for just the unexpected. And the new lockdowns in some regions is the best example. The whole world thought it's over now, let's party, but this is not the case. You have to prepare and be prepared for every situation. So that's our lesson learned from the COVID pandemic. Regarding CyberFit, I'm really excited about this program. I will invest significantly in this program, but I'm not ready yet to share all the things I'm thinking about for a simple reason. We have a great summit, hybrid summit coming up in October and following months, and we will primarily focus on really the CyberFit world, what we say, on these different summits in person, but also hybrid.
Sure. Well, I mean, I know that CyberFit has been something that Acronis has been doing internally and has already been working on with its customers and MSP partners. So you've got a great track record there, and clearly there's lots of other things you can be doing, and you'll let us all know what those are during the hybrid summit later this year, which people, of course, can already register for now. Now, the other question was to ask you about an update on the Acronis Foundation, which has been building schools in third world and other countries. What's an update on that?
Providing knowledge for free around the world for everyone is clearly something which is not only at the heart of Acronis, but it's also at my personal belief. So we are building schools right now, and we are currently also extending the program. And just in the next months, we will announce the next schools where we are actually going to invest in. Tanzania is one region, but there are many other regions where we are working on right now. And I'm really excited about this program because I truly believe in knowledge should be accessible to everyone around the world, no matter where you are growing up, no matter where you live.
Now, as we get towards the end of the interview, although we're not quite there yet, I always like to ask, what's your memory of your first computer?
The memory of my first computer is a black screen with green letters on it. I think it was a Sinclair ZX81.
Yeah,
that was my very first time when I was actually looking at a computer. And it was just amazing to see this thing happening.
And was that in English or was it in German?
It was actually in English.
Okay.
So everything, so all the computers until the late 90s, all the main programs were all in English in Germany.
And do you remember getting those computer magazines and typing in the games and things, in BASIC?
So I was never the C64 Commodore type of person. I was rather the Atari. At the beginning, frankly, it was all about playing games.
Yeah.
So not typing, but playing games at the beginning. That's how I actually started my computer career. But this is really long time ago by now.
Sure. Yeah, well, the ZX80 was in the very early 80s. I mean, I think 81 might have even stood for 1991. But yeah, I was using computers around that time too. And so, look, what's a little bit about your own history in the world of tech? You must have a very high pedigree to have been chosen as the next CEO of Acronis. So what can you tell us about your own history?
Mm-hmm. No, happy to share, Alex, a bit about my history. Frankly, it has always been about IT as far as I can think back. And it started during the school where I was playing with the Sinclair, I was playing with Atari. I really wanted to understand better how these devices work. But it went on where actually, while I was studying computer science and business, I was actually working in a care center and was taking care of high profile customers from, at that point in time, Digital Equipment Corporation. And at that point, I really understood mission critical applications. We had really mind-blowing penalties if you missed on certain response times because we were looking after all the key systems. And that's where I got to know the mission criticality of IT and how much IT can actually help and grow your business. At the same time, how you need to protect against it if something fails. And since then, I've always been passionate about making things work, growing the IT. And I even built large data centers in Germany to really help us to grow and become more successful from an IT perspective. So at the heart, I'm an IT guy. I'm a hardware, network, system administrator guy. That's where my heart is. And I really love and I'm passionate about software. I think this is how I can really describe myself.
Sure. And look, with iTWire, for example, sometimes our site goes down because, we've been playing with something on the server and we've run out of disk space. And the CEO of iTWire was also in the managed service industry business and involved with data centers. And he would tell me stories about how 20, 30 years ago, things seemed to be a lot both simpler and people took uptime a lot more seriously. I mean, it sounds crazy. Today uptime is the most important thing because if something goes down, if there's an outage, everybody screams about it. It's on Twitter, it's on the national newspapers. But I think sometimes some sort of simplicity and some of the old ways need to come back to really get people thinking about, you can't allow an outage to go on for hours and hours. It's got to be fixed ultra fast. And hopefully this decade, especially with COVID showing how the world can be disrupted, we can really get back to some of that. And hopefully some of your learnings that you just spoke about from those early days is something that it's a philosophy you'll bring to Acronis even more than it already is there. So please keep on with that. Simplification.
I will. I will. Simplification is clearly one of the key items for me because the world is complex enough. So we just need to make things simpler for this to actually work.
Yeah.
And scale. Frankly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's the requirement for data. I mean, even with Acronis, the amount of data you're protecting must be growing exponentially, and you'd have to be working with the data center providers, and it's just a non-stop. It's exponential. So talk about that J curve. It's going crazy. Now, if you look from the past to the future, how do you see Acronis evolving over the next couple of years? But then also, how do you see it evolving by, say, something like 2030? Will we have Acronis Cyber Protect for the brain because we might have brain chips by then, which will be under attack by ransomware that'll send people into digital comas? I mean, it sounds crazy, but it could be true.
I mean, this would be a great question for our chief research officer. But what I can tell you so far, what he's really thinking about and what we are working on, it has a lot to do with quantum computing, because obviously you will need to work with quantum computing going forward to really protect the workloads even better, because as soon as quantum computing is available to everyone, at least directly or indirectly through the cloud, then people will use it not only for good purposes, but also for bad purposes. And that's what we really have to work on. So will we implement something in your brain? I doubt this is going to happen in 9 years from now, frankly, but are we going to use the latest technology, like, for example, quantum computing, to protect the workload? For sure. This is one of the things where I'm really eager to learn more. And I know Sergei is already light years ahead in that thinking from his perspective, which I'm really glad about, because that will help us to really be successful short-term, mid-term, and long-term.
Well, I was reading on Tech Radar about quantum computing as a service. So already it's out there. And I mean, Google has already claimed quantum supremacy. So a lot of the hype is going to disappear. Go on, sorry.
Many have claimed it already, I think. Many have claimed it, I think, yeah.
Yes. So my second last question is simply, can you please share some of the best advice that you've received in life to help you get to where you are today?
Well, the best advice I frankly received is stay positive, because I mean, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, no matter what happens. And frankly, this has helped me a lot through many situations in my life. Has always been very rewarding. It has been very positive, but there are also sometimes cases where I didn't feel that well and things didn't go that well, where this one simple message always helped me to just continue. It helped me to continue through the pandemic. It helped me to really just also grow my knowledge and just be successful and friendly, and at the same time, just being who I am, frankly.
So what's your final message to iTWire viewers and readers, and to your current and future customers and partners?
I'm really, really honored and excited to be the new CEO of Acronis, and I'm very, very much looking forward to working with all of you on protecting everyone's workload around the globe.
Well, Patrick Pulvermueller,
no matter where you are.
Yes. Well, Patrick Pulvermueller, the new CEO of Acronis, thank you very much for your time. Best of luck in the new position, and I hope we get to talk again in the future.
Looking forward to it, Alex. Thank you so much for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.